What is up, guys? We are back with another episode of Mainly Celtics. I believe this is episode 82. Yes, it is episode 82. Um, so an NBA season's worth of Mainly Celtics. Once again, this week there really hasn't been a ton of Celtics news, but I believe as of right now, so as of yesterday, by the time you're listening to this, I believe we start NBA basketball with the Boston Celtics playing the Philadelphia 76ers. So we'll be a little less than a month away by the time you guys are listening to this. Some other Celtics related news. Checking back in on Yam Madar, our draft and stash player from last season, or I believe 2 seasons ago. Um, he averaged 16.8 points on 60% field goal percentage, 12 for 22 from three in his final 4 games of the Eurobasket. So pretty impressive performance by Yam. Um, so that's something we like to see. Hopefully, we can eventually get him over here soon. I'm still not sure when we're gonna get him. Obviously, doesn't seem like this year, but hopefully by next year he can make that full transition. Even though it seems we're pretty jam packed with guards at this point. My last thing to note about Celtics news is the Celtics have officially signed Justin Jackson, Jake Layman, and Denzel Valentine. They currently have 19 players they can bring 20 into the preseason with them. Obviously, I think it gets cut down to 16 players, with 2 of those being two ways once the season starts. So there's a good chance one of those 3 guys will wind up fighting for that final roster spot for the Celtics. So, um, we talked to you guys last week that our plan for this week was to go with some kind of bold predictions for this upcoming Celtics season. I kind of have some predictions going from least bold to bold. So I'd start with my least bold, which a lot of you guys might think is very bold, but I do not think Peyton Pritchard is on the Celtics roster after the trade deadline. You just look at the way the Celtics have built their roster. They've built a lot on tall guards. I think Peyton Pritchard is a very valuable player. I think he's a really good player. But I think when it comes to the trade deadline this year, obviously they've given up a lot of draft picks, acquiring some trades to get Derek White and Malcolm Brogdon. So Peyton Pritchard's one of their best young assets and one of the best young assets that they're willing to give up. Obviously, with other young guys like Rob and Grant, I don't think those guys are really getting dealt because we've seen them have a pretty consistent role in our rotation. And we didn't really see any moves this offseason that's really going to impact their minutes or their spot in the rotation too much. Maybe Gallo with Grant, but obviously with Gallo being out again this year, I think Grant's going to have a pretty much similar role to what he had last year. So that's why I think Pritchard has a good chance to move. I kind of talked about last week some guys to keep an eye on. Utah's obviously going to be in full sell mode all season. Uh, I wouldn't be that surprised if we do try and acquire a guy like Rudy Gay or Bojan Bogdanovic at the trade deadline to bolster this roster, especially if none of the guys, like kind of the outskirt guys, have really solidified themselves as rotation players. We've kind of talked about Sam Hauser maybe being a guy that's going to try and step up now that Gallo's out. But if he's not able to look like he's a guy that can consistently play NBA minutes, I wouldn't be surprised if they go and get a guy or a guy of a similar talent on a different team. And I think Peyton Pritchard's one of the best players we have in order to be that bargaining chip. So that's my least bold, which I know it's going to hurt a lot of Celtics fans. A lot of people might think it's bold, but I don't think it's like that crazy to say. It's also getting the time where we're getting ready to have to pay him. He's coming off his rookie deal soon, so I think now is probably the best time to trade him. Obviously, I hope this doesn't happen. I've really liked Peyton Pritchard, but just the moves they made in the past, acquiring a guy like Malcolm Brogdon and Derek White, and going Mark Smart point guard, there's really not a whole lot of point guard minutes and guard minutes available on this team. I think they're going to obviously find a way to get him into the rotation because he is so talented. But I think with Pritchard in the lineup, they really don't like it as much as some of these other guys because he is a smaller guard. Um, okay, my second most bold prediction. I'm just gonna give you guys three. So my middle bold is I believe Jason Tatum will finish top three in MVP voting. Um, I think the guys that I really think have a chance to win MVP next year, or I think Jokic has a chance to win MVP. I don't think there's any way in the world Jokic wins it. Wouldn't be surprised if he finishes top three. It's just gonna be very hard to follow up 2 years in a row of MVP performances. So I think there's no way he wins it, but I do think there's a chance he finishes in the top three or top five. So I think he obviously has a very good shot to win it. Um, I think you could put Kawhi up there, even though we haven't really seen um, what Kawhi's going to be like. He's not really a guy that's ever really put up great regular season numbers because he usually has quite a bit of rest. So I kind of throw him out. I don't think he's going to be a top five MVP voting kind of guy. I really think that Tatum has a good shot to win MVP. Um, and my prediction is just to get finished top three. I think Tatum's a guy that could finish top three. I think Jokic is a guy that can finish top three. I think Embiid's a guy that can finish top three. Um, and I think that Giannis is obviously a guy that can finish top three. I really can't think, and Luka. So those are really five guys I think have a real good shot of finishing um, top three in MVP voting. I don't think Durant and LeBron. I think LeBron's team success isn't going to be enough. Same with Durant, and I think those guys are both going to miss at least a decent amount of games due to injury. So that is my bold prediction number two: Jason Tatum top three in MVP voting. My most bold prediction this season for the Celtics is I think Jaylen Brown will be an All NBA player. I know I've teetered on that a lot. I think I've gone back and forth on him being an All NBA player this year. And that's why this is my most bold. I think more likely than anything, he's just an All Star this year. But I do think he has a really good opportunity and a really good pathway in order to be an All NBA player. You say Jason Tatum gets first team All NBA. If the Celtics are a one seed or a two seed in the Eastern Conference, as they are predicted right now to finish as the one seed, with coming off a finals appearance the year before, I think if Jaylen Brown takes any sort of a leap, which he seemed to do every single year, so that isn't that out of the realm, that Jaylen Brown just kind of puts up slightly better counting numbers and the team's success is what it was last year or better. Coming off a finals appearance where obviously he didn't make an all-star game the year before. He's kind of got that prestige now of being an all-star caliber player. I think if he is able to put up good numbers this season, which he's very capable of, takes a little bit of a leap just numbers wise and just player wise, and the Celtics team success is that good, top two seed in the East, looking like a real title favorite. I think it's a really good shot he makes an All NBA team, which is like not super bold. Obviously, I'm not going anything super crazy out here, like saying, Al Horford's gonna drop 20 points a game. But these are all pretty realistic things. I think that's the most unlikely to happen. That's my most bold take. Is Jaylen Brown makes an All NBA team? I don't think it's completely out of the realm. I just think that it's going to be tough, but I think he's got a good pathway to do it this year because of the Celtics' expectations going into the season. I think a lot of the voters, he might be a guy that they default kind of throw in there because he is a bigger name on a successful team that's had success over the past, and he does have at least that one All-Star appearance. Soon to be two. He's going to be multi-time All-Star heading into award season next year. Other than that, I don't have a whole lot of crazy news. Obviously, there's some really good football games being played today. Kind of wild day. I know Miami had a huge comeback against Baltimore. The Arizona game was wild. Tampa Bay New Orleans looked like an absolute snooze fest till the very end when Tampa Bay started to pull away. And as of right now, we're just about to kick off Monday Night Football. You guys all have seen the result between the Packers and the Bears. I think the Packers are probably just going to blow them out of the water by like 5 or 6 touchdowns. And the only thing else I really have to comment on is I know I've kind of been giving you guys updates on the shows I've been watching. House of Dragon has continued to be a pretty solid show. She-Hulk, I think, is a really great Marvel show. Once again, I think it's very funny. I do think they probably had their worst episode of the season in, I believe it was episode 4 or 5 last week. But I think they're going to bounce back, especially with the hint of, well, obviously we know the fact that Daredevil is going to make an appearance in the show. I think it's coming sooner rather than later. So I think that's going to get a lot of fans excited. And I think it's going to be just great for the show. A cameo heavy show, but I think it does pans what doesn't take away from the show. I think it benefits the show more than anything. So with that, I'm going to bid you guys adieu. Hopefully soon we can actually get some real basketball we get to be watching, some real Celtics basketball we get to be watching, and we can start reacting and making more informed opinions based on what we see in the preseason and of course the regular season. So we will see you guys next week.